So what we're going to do today is we are going to do one very, very short picture book together that it has celebratory LGBTQ content. And then I am going to just rapid fire book talk 20 or more additional books. And then if she is able to join us, then we are going to briefly hear at the end from the executive director of PFLAG, Charlotte, who was kind enough to offer to join us today. And then I would like to have time for you, my friends, to ask questions and to share books with me. I'm always looking for your recommendations too. So please, if you have any books I don't mention that you think I should know about, I would love to know that. And then Elise will share the BiblioCommons link. So right here, this is part of a stack of the books that I was going through when I was trying to narrow down this presentation. It is absolutely extraordinary how many books celebrate the LGBTQ experience for young children. And I'm so thrilled that it was such a hard project for me to narrow it down to a lunchtime break. I put, this is my organization, just so you have a key into how my brain works. This is pretty much as organized as I ever am, but all of these gorgeous, gorgeous colors and beautiful books that I'm talking about today with you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment because I am going to share I'm going to do a read aloud, and it's a very, very short read aloud. And it is of the book Glad, Glad Bear, which I have checked out with my Charlotte Mecklenburg Library card. I'm going to put this down here. And so this is Glad, Glad Bear by Kimberly G. This is going to take about a minute to share. It's a very short book. We use it at our baby story times and toddler and pre-K story times. Glad, Glad Bear. So here is our Glad Bear. I'm going to minimize this. Sorry, friends, bear with me. Bear is glad. He has new leggings and new slippers and a new tutu. Oh, it's freezing on me. Might have to go old school and hold up the book. Let's do that. All right, we're going old school. We're rejecting technology, y'all. All right. So let's go ahead and do it this way. Glad, Glad Bear by Kimberly G. Bear is glad. He has new leggings and new slippers and a new tutu. Today is dance day, and that makes him very, very glad. Look at those sassy cowgirl boots, cowboy boots. I love it. Whee! So Glad Bear is leaving the house. Then Bear is not so sure. So here's Mama standing to the side, and Glad Bear is looking in and is not so sure. He feels a little bit shy and a little bit afraid. We've got a little chin quiver going on there. And a little bit different. So here's our Glad Bear. And teacher is noticing. But when the music starts, Bear begins to feel light and bubbly and twirly. Look at that beautiful twirly page. And then Bear is dancing. And when the music stops, Bear takes off his slippers and his tutu. And the teacher says, "Thank you for coming." And Bear is very glad that he did. Okay, so even though we had to go old school with that and hold it up to the camera instead of sharing it as an ebook, I hope you can see that very young, that is a book geared toward the very, very young. That is just celebratory and non-judgy and delightful about a kid following their own interests and being who they are and who they want to be. So I'm going to share my screen again, go back to the presentation. And So we're going to start off, and since we only have one person now that is interested in this age range, then we'll skip through it pretty quickly, but we're going to start with books for babies and toddlers. And so this first one that I wanted to do is called Pride Colors. It is a board book, so it's one of the ones that your babies can, chew on if they are so inclined. It uses photographs of that celebrate real life gay couples with their children through simple story and using the rainbow flag as the cue. So the pictures on the inside and the language looks like this. It starts off a bright red heart, a little star. I love you just the way you are. Cuddles in orange, a snuggle, a snooze. Be yourself. Love who you choose. Yellow sunshine, smiles so bright. I'll hug you, kiss you, hold you tight. It's a really, really lovely board book for babies called Pride Colors. And there are two books that are companion board books also as well. So the hard ones that you can knock on that the babies can chew on or that toddlers won't destroy or rip up. And this one is called Mommy, Mama, and Me by Leslie Newman. Pictures are by Carol Thompson. And the companion title is Daddy, Papa, and Me by Leslie Newman and Carol Thompson again. And the insides look like this, so you can see what the language is and what the illustrations are like. Mommy picks me up, 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 and Mama pours juice in my cup. Mommy lets me help her cook. Mama helps me read a book. And then the daddy one, who wants to play with me today? I do, Daddy and Papa say. Daddy helps me paint the sky. Papa helps me bake a pie. So it's just very simple language, really wonderful representation. Lovely by Jess Hong. She did the words and the pictures. This one, I've used it a ton of diversity story times for littles and into older kids. It's one of my favorite books available. The language is simple. It starts off, what is lovely? Lovely is different. And it has positive messaging in it and just one word or a couple words per page. But it's full of people with, sleeve tats and piercings and unibrows and look at these fabulous hairy legs in the gorgeous, gorgeous heels, men with beards and corsets. I mean, it's just the artwork is absolutely amazing. And this page, actually, the language on it says, this is just the art, but it says on it, fancy, sporty, graceful, stompy. And so it's just low language, but a lot of gorgeous representation that we don't see in a lot of books, plus a person dressed like a hot dog. So that is something that everybody needs in their life. The family book, and you're going to see throughout the presentation up here, there's this Banned Books Week badge. That means that, I should have said this at the beginning, but the American Library Association has something called the Office of Intellectual Freedom, which is responsible for tracking any time that a book is banned or challenged anywhere across the United States. And they track all of those bans and challenges. And then they publish every single year the top 10 banned books of the year. And then they also every decade capture the statistics of the top 100 banned books of the decade. So if you see a banned books badge up here, it is a badge of pride. We love this. It means that this is one of those statistically top banned books that we read all of the time. And so this is The Family Book by Todd Parr. If you know Todd Parr, he has a great work of picture books that feature a lot of diversity, and children love his artwork because it's very childlike. The words are simple and inclusive, and the messages are always positive. Some families are big, some families are small, some families look alike, some families look like their pet, and no matter what, all families like to hug. And then this is the page that is specifically focused on LGBTQ relationships. Some families have two moms or two dads, and it's just one page in the middle of this book that's celebrating all of the ways that your family might be unique and different. So moving on to books for preschoolers, Neither, or Neither, depending on how picky you want to be about pronunciation. I say neither, but Neither by Airlie Anderson is one that has made me cry with joy out loud in front of a room full of strangers. And so that's always a bonus to being a children's librarian. But Neither, once upon a time, there were two kinds. There was this and that, these and those, one or the other, until honk, we have this new creature. What kind are you? They ask. I'm both. You can't be both. You must be neither. I'm neither? And Neither is told that they're not rabbity enough to play with the rabbits, not birdie enough to play with the birds, and they should go in search of somewhere else. And so they do go in search of somewhere else, and they find the land of all. And there are many kinds in the land of all. There's this and that and somewhat and whatnot and either and very and sort of and just, and everybody is welcome. It's a really, really beautiful story. So that's Neither by Airlie Anderson. This one brings me such joy, The GayBCS. Who doesn't love the GayBCS? So this is by M.L. Webb, did the words and the pictures, and it kind of sells itself just based on the title, but A is for ally, B is for bi, D is for drag, L is for lesbian, N is for non-binary, T is for trans, and of course, V is for Vogue, and it is wonderful. So you can see just one page of it. G is for gay. It's a word that implies you're a girl who likes girls or a guy who likes guys. There's just very simple 2-line rhyme. So that's the GayBCS. And this is a brand new book, brand new, called My Maddy. And this is by Gail E. Pittman. Pictures are by Violet Tobacco. And there weren't any images, it's so new, there weren't any images available of the inside spreads for me to include. So pardon me as you stare at the cover while you listen to my voice. But the book pitch is that most mommies are girls, most daddies are boys, but lots of parents are neither a boy nor a girl, like my Maddy. My Maddy has hazel eyes, which are not brown nor green. And my Maddy likes sporks because they're not quite a spoon or a fork. Some of the best things in the world are not one thing or the other. There's something in between and entirely their own. So this is a book from late 2020 with information at the back for parents who are members of gender minority communities, including transgender, gender non-binary, or gender diverse people. And it's absolutely gorgeous. This is one of the ones that I am super excited to pitch. It's called Harriet Gets Carried Away by Jessie Sema. And if you're looking for something a little more subtle than the GayBCS, I picked this book because it's a trend that we're seeing in book publishing where a book is not about LGBTQ issues at all, but it celebrates it. And so, for example, Harriet Gets Carried Away is a book about a girl who goes to the store with her dads on the day of her birthday party dressed like a penguin. And then she accidentally gets carried away on a hot air balloon by a group of actual penguins, and she ends up in Antarctica. And then eventually she gets back to her daddies and they throw her the birthday party. The parents are really peripheral characters. They're just two people who happen to love their very quirky daughter. And in the past, authors and publishers would have defaulted to male-female couples, but we're seeing more and more appearances of same-sex couples in books that aren't about the gay experience at all. And we, of course, really love that. This is one I just used at a pre-K program 2 weeks ago. It's called Except When They Don't, and it's by Laura Gale, and the pictures are by Joshua Heinz. So if you want a great book about destroying gender norms, here you go. I got you covered. Boys, this is how it opens. It says, boys play monster trucks with glee. Girls bake cakes and serve hot tea. Girls like pom-poms, pink and jewels. Boys like fighting pirate duels, except when they don't. And so the book is this beautiful, beautiful mashup of gender norms. It's a book for boys who delight in princess frocks and girls who race their cars loud and fast, and boys and girls who like kittens and ballet and who play football all day long and make forts in their living room. The message is for the kids is no matter what you like to do, you have our permission and support to be exactly who you are. And I really like the artwork in that one too. So that is called Except When They Don't. What Riley Wore. This is by Alana K. Arnold with pictures by Linda Davick. On Monday, Riley wore a bunny costume to school because Riley felt shy. On Tuesday, Riley wore a superhero cape to the dentist's office because dentist's offices are scary and Riley wanted to be brave. On Wednesday, Riley wore a ball gown to dinner with their grandparents because ball gowns are the fanciest. And on Thursday, space jammies. On Friday, rubber boots, a police officer jacket, and the world's best tutu. And I wanted to share this for the park. Riley put on purple jeans, the world's best tutu, a crazy monster shirt, red rubber boots, round aviator glasses, and a hat with dinosaur spikes. And then this page, if you can see, at the park, Riley felt shy. And then a kid from school walked up and asked, "Are you a girl or a boy?" Riley said, "Today I'm a firefighter and a dancer and a monster hunter and a pilot and a dinosaur." "Ah," said the kid, "want to play?" I love, love, love that book. It very carefully does not use any pronouns at any time throughout the book, and it never assigns a gender to precious little Riley. And so that is What Riley Wore. So now we're going to go into the age category that is what many of you were more interested in looking for, books for lower elementary. So this would be like K through 3. And some of the books that I just did for pre-K, if you have younger kiddos, that they would still enjoy them. I mean, I'm 41 and I enjoy them. So books for lower elementary right here. This one is one of my favorites in the entire planet. My niece, who's 6, is obsessed with it. Once Upon a Time. Oh, I should say it's called Prince and Knight by Daniel Hack. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far from here, lived a charming prince who was handsome and sincere. Our fairy tale begins when the king and queen try to find him a bride, but he's looking for something a little bit different. He's looking for something different in a partner by his side. And so this has all of the classic fairy tale. You can see the artwork. It looks like a Disney film. It's absolutely stunning. And so the prince is trying to fight off a dragon when along comes a knight on horseback, cloaked in armor. And the knight ends up saving the prince. And when he takes off his helmet, there's that moment where he shakes out his tousled mane, and then they kiss. And their hearts race, and the king and the queen are so excited to have finally found someone who's perfect for their boy. They're overwhelmed with joy. And so that is Knight and Prince. And by the same author, but a different illustrator, Daniel Hack wrote Maiden and Princess together with a woman named Isabel Galupo. So again, in a faraway kingdom, a call was made that there would be a ball to find the prince a worthy bride. And all the maidens were excited except for one. She is a female warrior and knows the prince from battle. And it says up here, the prince is smart and strong, she confided in her mother. But if I'm being honest, I see him as a brother. Her mother said, just go and have a bit of fun. The prince might not be right, but you could meet the one. And she does meet the one. Of course, she goes to the ball and goes out on the balcony, and she meets this beautiful woman who turns out to be the princess. So the sister of the prince. And then they get married. And that ends with them flying off on a dragon. I wasn't able to find a picture, but I love the image of them flying off on a dragon with the words, when the day finally came to prove their love was true, the maiden and the princess happily said, I do. So beautiful fairy tale. This one also King and King. You'll see that gorgeous Banned Books Week sticker over there. This is by Linda de Haan and Stern Nijland, and they're a lesbian couple who does artwork together. And this I'm put in here because it has the honor of being the first image of 2 men romantically kissing in a children's book when it was published in the year 2000. And it has that little heart over it right there, but it still became very popularly banned because it had the 2 dudes kissing for the first time in children's literature. And we love that book. So there is a new series that is published by Imagination Press, which is the children's book publisher for the American Psychological Association. And they are very deliberate about the type of books that they are putting out in the world. And they have a series that is celebrating the trans and, gender fluid experience for children. And that series is Jacob. So this is the first book in that series called Jacob's New Dress by Sarah and Ian Hoffman. Let's see, Jacob loves playing dress up when he can be anything he wants to be. Some kids at school say he can't wear girl clothes, but Jacob wants to wear a dress to school. Can he convince his parents to let him wear what he wants? This heartwarming story speaks to the unique challenges faced by boys who don't identify with traditional gender roles. The second book in the Jacob series is Jacob's Room to Choose. In Jacob's Room to Choose, Jacob loves to go to class and the library, but when he tries to use the boys' bathroom, other kids mistake him for a girl and chase him out. Scared and confused, Jacob confides in his friend Sophie, a classmate who had the same thing happen when she tried to use the girls' room. And together they give everyone at their school the idea to choose which bathroom feels right for them. And the brand new book that just came out about a month ago in the series is called Jacob's School Play, starring he, she, and they. All of these are by Ian and Sarah Hoffman. And in Jacob's School Play, this book introduces young readers to concepts of gender diversity and pronoun options. Learning that individuals are more nuanced than how others see them is developmentally an important milestone, and it helps foster respect of one's peers and of oneself. So we love this series and hope that it keeps going. Jack, Not Jackie by Erica Silverman. This is interesting because it's told from the viewpoint of a sibling. And so Susan thinks her little sister Jackie has the best giggle. She cannot wait for Jackie to get older so that they can play forest fairies and be explorers together. But as time passes, Jackie shows no interest in those games and prefers to play with mud and be a superbug. Well, Jackie also doesn't like dresses or having long hair and would rather be called Jack. So published in partnership with GLAAD, a portion of the sales of this book are donated always to accelerating LGBTQ acceptance. And this is that last page in Jack Not Jackie. It says, Jackie, Jack, same big round eyes, my sister, my brother, it's okay either way. And little by little, my heart starts to feel bubbly again. It's a beautiful book. This one is amazing and has won all the awards. This is called When Aidan Became a Brother. And this is by Kyle Lukoff, who is a trans man. When Aidan was born, everyone thought he was a girl, but once he came out as a trans boy, Aidan and his parents fixed the parts of his life that didn't fit anymore, and he settled happily into being himself. But then mom and dad announced that they're having another baby. And Aidan wants to help get everything right for his new sibling. But what does that mean to get everything right? And what happens if he messes up? And so Aidan discovers, with the help from his parents, that he already knows the most important thing about being a brother, which is how to love with his entire heart. So that is an amazing newish book, but has already won a ton of awards. And then I'm Not a Girl is another book. The authors are not trans, but the illustrator is Dana Simpson. She does the Phoebe and the Unicorn series. So she's a trans woman who was very, very excited to get to work on this book, I'm Not a Girl, by Maddox Lyons and Jessica Verdi. And as you can see here, this is probably my favorite spread, which is I've spent all year wishing, but birthday wishes are the most powerful. I close my eyes and I feel the warmth from the candles on my face. I wish everyone saw the real me. Oh, I love that book. I Am Jazz. You'll see our proud little badge up here again for Banned Books Week. So Jazz Jennings is a transgender girl. This is not a recent book. She wrote this book with the help of Jessica Herthel when she was about 7 years old, and now she's a teenager. In fact, this is her now. Look at how stunning she is. But from the time she was 2 years old, Jazz knew that she had a girl's brain in a boy's body. She loved pink and dressing up like mermaids, and she didn't feel like herself in boys' clothing. This confused her family until they took her to a doctor who diagnosed Jazz as transgender and explained that she was born that way. So this is Jazz now, and she has a TLC reality show actually by the same name, I Am Jazz, talking about her transgender experience. Phoenix Goes to School, that's little Phoenix that co-wrote this story with her mom, Michelle. Phoenix Goes to School is a story to support transgender and gender diverse children. Phoenix is a gender non-conforming transgender 7-year-old who was assigned male at birth. And this is her story about what it was like for her the first time she went to school wearing a dress. Uncle Bobby's Wedding is a classic. We'll see that gorgeous badge. We love that we are reading these books proudly. Uncle Bobby's Wedding by Sarah S. Brannon. The reason I have this on here, even though it is not new, is this is the cover when it was originally published. And just in 2020, it got this gorgeous reboot and has entirely new illustrations that instead of being anthropomorphized, gerbils, it's humans being wonderfully human. And so this is Uncle Bobby's Wedding, and it's the story of a girl, a niece who is asked to be the flower girl at her Uncle Bobby's wedding and doesn't understand that he's marrying a man. And so it's about her coming to terms with that understanding. And then the most famous book that is also not new, and there's not a new cover for this, but just want to celebrate Heather Has Two Mommies by Leslie Newman. And this is one of the classic and most frequently banned, because it's awesome, books about having two mommies. So chapter books and nonfiction, these are what we call middle grade, which means that it's for grades like 3 through 7. And we're going to pitch there, I think 6 that I have here. And I'm going to mostly be reading the author blurbs. I mean, the blurbs off the back of the books for these, because they do a better job pitching than I could on my own. But this first one is Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag. This is a 2021 book, brand new. It's written by Rob Saunders. Celebrate Pride and the iconic rainbow flag, a symbol of inclusion and acceptance around the world, with this very first book to tell its remarkable and inspiring story, very first picture book to tell that story. It's really wonderful. It's for older elementary. Rainbow Revolutionaries. This one I have been reading on my lunch breaks. It's absolutely amazing. This is 50 LGBTQ plus people who made history, written by Sarah Prager and illustrated by Sarah Papworth. You might recognize some of the people on the cover, but in every culture and in every century, LGBTQ plus people have not only existed and thrived, they have revolutionized. In the 1500s, Francisco Manaconga was taken from his country and forced into slavery, and still he refused to wear the clothes of a gender he didn't identify with, and was a fierce example of someone who stood up for himself, even in the force of oppression. In 17th century Sweden, the law stated that queens had to get married to men, but Christina of Sweden said, "I'd rather choose death than a man," and she quit being a queen, just like that. In 19th century Germany, Magnus Hirschfeld used the motto, "Through science to justice," and worked to prove that being LGBTQ plus was just another biological trait, and he inspired activists for years to come. There are 50 rainbow revolutionaries here that invented and engineered and blazed trails, and this book celebrates the mark that they made on our world. You Be You. This is a kid's guide to gender, sexuality, and family. It's written by a PhD who got his degree in women's gender and sexuality studies from Ohio State University. But it's an illustrated book for, it says 5 and up, but it's appropriate for as long as your children are having questions about gender, sexuality, and family. It makes it easy to explain gender identity, sexual orientation, and family diversity. Throughout the book, kids learn that there are many kinds of people in the world and that diversity is something to be celebrated. It covers gender, romantic orientation, discrimination, intersectionality, privilege, and how to stand up for what's right. And it's aiming to help kids create a kinder, more tolerant, more inclusive world. George, oh, I lost my cheat sheet on George, but George is one of the most famous, and it should have a band logo up here. I just forgot to put it up there. George was the #1 banned book for 2020 and the #1 banned book for 2019. And then it came out in 2018 and it was the #1 banned book of that year as well. And the author, Alex Gino, is a trans woman. And George actually has been rebranded just this year as, I forget her, it's called Michelle's Story now.
Melissa's Story.
Melissa's Story. Thank you. So it is.
Can I just interrupt? If you search for Melissa's Story in our library catalog, you get this book. Like it comes back in Biblio Commons in the catalog. If you search for Melissa's Story as a keyword or a title search, it will still return this title.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Alicia.
Yeah. But it's Melissa's Story.
So when people look at George, they see a boy, but George knows that she's a girl. George thinks she'll have to keep this secret forever. And then her teacher announces their class play is going to be Charlotte's Web. And George really, 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 really wants to play Charlotte. But the teacher says she can't even try out for the part because she's a boy. So with the help of her best friend, Kelly, George comes up with a plan, not just so she can be Charlotte, but so everyone can know who she is once and for all. It is a candid, genuine, heartwarming middle grade title about a transgender girl. The Deep and Dark Blue, I read this on my trip to the beach last weekend. It is a brand new 2021 book, and it is gorgeous if you like graphic novels like I do. The Deep and Dark Blue, this is by Nikki Smith. It's high fantasy. It says, follow the winds, you know the way. After a terrible political coup usurps their noble house, Hawk and Grayson flee to stay alive and assume new identities, Hannah and Grace. Desperation and chance lead them to the Communion of Blue, an order of magical women who spin the threads of reality to their will, and they find strength in each other. But as the twins learn more about the communion and themselves, they begin to hatch a plan to avenge their family and retake their royal home. But while Hawk wants to return to his old life, Grace struggles to keep the threads of their new life from unraveling and realizes she wants to stay in the one place that will allow her to finally live as a girl. It is an awesome graphic novel. The Pants Project by Kat Clark. Whoever wrote the uniform policy decided and why that girls had to wear skirts while boys were allowed to wear pants. Sexist, dumb, unfair. Girls must wear a black pleated knee-length skirt. I bet I read those words 100 times during summer vacation. The problem wasn't the last word in that sentence. Skirt wasn't really the issue, not for me. The issue was the first word, girls. here's the thing. I may seem like a girl, but on the inside, I'm a boy. And so that's the Pants Project. And so again, these are middle grade chapter books. And then we'll do this one, Gracefully Grayson. They call this a small miracle of a book. Grayson Sender has been holding on to a secret for what seems like forever. He is a girl on the inside, born into the wrong gender's body. The weight of this secret is crushing, but sharing it would mean facing ridicule and scorn and rejection or worse. Despite the risks, Grayson's true self itches to break free. Will new strength and support from unexpected places be enough to help Grayson step into the spotlight she was born to inhabit? And this is by Amy Polanski, who is a fabulous, beautiful writer. And then I am not going to try and do this as another read aloud because we are at 12:37. So we've gone a little bit over a half hour. And I'm thankful to you guys for sticking it, for you, my friends, to stick it out with me. But I just wanted to highlight this Marlon Bundo book. So this is called A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo. It is created by Last Week Tonight's John Oliver. And he it goes like this. He wrote this book about our previous vice president Mike Pence's bunny, Marlon Bundo, meeting a male bunny and falling ears over tail in love. And when they decide they don't want to hop without each other ever again, they're almost not allowed to marry because the stink bug in charge, who 100% has a blonde comb over, in case you were curious, says different is bad, and boy bunnies must marry girl bunnies, and girl bunnies must marry boy bunnies. So the other animals who are friends with Marlon Bundo take a vote, and they vote out the stink bug, and Marlon and Wesley get married, and they go on their bunnymoon. And the moral of the story is that stink bugs are temporary, love is forever. And it's dedicated to every bunny who has ever felt different. So, my friends, that was what I had. I would love to know if you have another couple of minutes. And I don't know, Elise, I don't know if Karen was able to join. Was she? So if Karen is on, then she can talk to you for just a second about PFLAG Charlotte. Oh, yes. Okay. So Karen, if you want to unmute yourself, and I'm going to stop my share.
Great, I'm here.
Hey, welcome.
That was so good. And thanks so much for the invitation, and the book list looks unbelievable. So thank you for that. My apologies for being late. I am Karen Gracie, and I am the executive director of PFLAG Charlotte. And it's good to see some familiar faces on here. I have to give a shout out to Josh Jernigan from Gender Education Network. PFLAG Charlotte, just real quickly, is an organization who we strengthen families, we empower allies, and we elevate LGBTQ plus individuals and organizations through peer support, education, and advocacy. Just a couple highlights for you. I'm going to give you our website. It's www.pflagcharlotte.org. And honestly, what we do as an ally organization is we work very hard to meet individuals and organizations right where they are. So families can come to us if they have newly out LGBTQ plus loved ones. And we also do a lot of programming for the workplace, for schools, for healthcare providers. And what we do is we come to the conversation really as allies, and through the power of our stories, we work very hard to open hearts so that then we can have a dialogue. The other thing I just want to mention, because these are all book lovers on here, is that we do actually facilitate a book club conversation for one of our favorite books, which is This Is How It Always Is. And I know, Becca, I'm sure you're very familiar with it, but the author is Lori Frankel. And that is just a fabulous novel for young adults and parents who are interested in reading about a beautifully diverse family in many different ways. So one of our favorite books, and we can facilitate those conversations. And I'll just stop here by saying you can reach me at karen@pflagcharlotte.org if you have any questions or want to learn more. And we also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to on our website. And the name of the newsletter, of course, is The Ally. So thanks for having us, and thanks for this great conversation, Becca.
Absolutely. And so, Josh, did you want to talk about the Gender Education Network, or there's no pressure to? I just didn't realize you were with that organization.
I founded the Gender Education Network. It's a nonprofit organization that works with transgender and gender diverse kids 12 and younger. We work to make sure these kids have community, and also that the community is supported in helping these kids thrive to be who they are, where they are. So that's kind of the gist of what we do.
That is awesome. Thank you both so much for being on this call with us today. And Elise, unless you have anything that you need to say as close, I think we want to be respectful of everyone's time. And
yes, of course. Thank you so much, Becca, for sharing, and everyone else for sharing, for sure. We do love to have a time for caregivers to have some discussion and questions or anything. So if you need to pop off, we completely understand if you got to get somewhere. But if you want to stick around, feel free to ask any questions that you might have, or share a book with us that you are excited about checking out from one of the ones that Becca shared. So thanks, everyone.